What is going on YouTube? K93 here with a remastered version of my Sonic tutorial. Now the Sonic is debatably one of the harder, if not one of the hardest fundamentals in pen spinning to learn. So hopefully this remastered version will help you guys learn it a little bit easier. Now the Sonic looks something like this. And that's if you do it palm up or palm side, however you want to call that. For those of you guys who don't know what that notation means, palm side is kind of self-explanatory. It's when your palm is facing the side. Palm up is something that you'll also hear, and because of the angle, the palm up and the palm side look kind of similar to you guys, I guess. But palm up is your palm facing straight up. At least that's what it would seem like. However, palm up and palm side in pen spinning, to my knowledge, are interchangeable. So if I say I'm doing the Sonic palm up, I'm not literally holding my hand flat like this and doing the Sonic. That's even actually pretty hard. Doing the Sonic like that. Not what I mean. I mean palm side, really. And then, of course, there is a palm down way, which is, your palm's obviously facing down. And when you do the Sonic in a palm down position, I personally think it's a lot easier, and it looks a little something like this. I kind of recommend you guys go and learn the charge before this, actually, because you still need to have that mindset of, I need to make this trick look very circular. It's very easy, especially as a beginner, to mess this trick up by making it not look circular, make it look very choppy, and it just doesn't look quite as pleasant, and it doesn't flow as well when you're trying to do pen spinning tricks, or combos rather. So try to learn the charge. You also need a swinging motion that I mentioned in that video. You also need to know how to do that and what I'm talking about to do this, but I will go over it briefly here, but I went more in depth on it in that video. So go ahead and check that out if you haven't already, but let's get into the Sonic tutorial. Sorry for the very long intro. So as I mentioned, the Sonic looks like this. And when I mentioned in the charge tutorial, you want to kind of hold it like this. What I mean by that is that the index and the middle finger are on the other side of the pen relative to you. Your ring and your pinky fingers are on the closer side of the pen, again, relative to you. And your thumb is on this side, kind of clamping the pen down so that it doesn't do like that. It doesn't droop. So this is just kind of like the beginning stance or position for what I mentioned in the charge. It's also the beginning of what can be the Sonic, which is that. And when I did the charge tutorial, I mentioned that this motion in the beginning is called a swing. So I'm going to do essentially the same thing here. I'm going to call this a swing, from going from holding it up here to doing about 3/4 of a revolution all the way over here. And so the beginning of the charge here, going into the charge, is actually the same as doing that swing into the Sonic. Granted, that looked really bad because there's no momentum. You need momentum to do the Sonic well, so keep that in mind. So you want to learn how to do that swing first, but when you do that swing, after that, in the charge anyway, this portion of the pen that's sticking out front goes in front of your middle finger, right? It goes in front of your middle finger if you're doing it in the 2-3 finger slot anyway. And then it comes back around, and then you do it again and again until your heart's delight. The Sonic, on the other hand, when you do that swing, this portion of the pen actually goes behind your middle finger. And now you guys might be thinking, well, how the heck do you do that? Because if it goes behind, isn't the pen going to fall back? The answer is yes, but of course you're not doing it right if it does that. So I'm here to teach you guys how to not do that. This trick does require a little bit of flexibility. So if you guys are able to touch your index finger and your ring finger together behind your middle finger, you should be okay. And even if you can't, if you can still have it more than, like, for example, this is what I would consider to be parallel, for example, as in these two fingers are parallel. If you can do anything better than that, as in anything closer, then you have enough flexibility. And you don't even need to bend your middle finger all the way down. I'm doing that just so you can see it better and for exaggeration purposes. But if you can have your middle finger bent down a little bit and then have, again, your index and your ring finger better than parallel, you have enough flexibility to do this trick. So You want to start off with that swing, and if it helps, use the part of the pen that has slightly more weight slash momentum, which in this case would be the part with the cap here. Put it at the top so that when you swing down, the part with the momentum is kind of going around the outside of that circle. And when you do this, actually, I went a little ahead of myself there. I want you guys to practice doing this. When you do the swing, when you get to the point where the pen is almost or just about or slightly beyond, that little range of when the pen is perpendicular with your hand or with your fingers rather, think about pulling your middle finger in a little bit and then pushing your index finger back a little bit. And in like kind of like mapping it out, it would look kind of like that. And I guess you want a better view like that. It's very subtle. It looks like that. And when you do this, you'll notice how the pen is essentially already, if it's continuing to spin from this angle, it's going to continue spinning and it's going to go behind the middle finger. It actually already is at this point. It's going behind the middle finger. And when I said if you can do better than parallel, or if you can do parallel even, the point of your index finger and your ring finger being here is to guide the pen into that circular half that leads into the catch. And that part, if I mapped it out, would look kind of like this. Pardon this hand in the back. I'm just trying to push the pen the ways it would look like kind of in super slow motion. But it would go like that, and then it will go like that. So I don't know if you saw that. Let's do that again. You do that swing motion, and then again, when it's just about perpendicular with your fingers, move your middle finger forward and your index finger back. And then after it clears your middle finger, as in if you were to just kind of push straight down right now with your index finger and your middle finger's up, if it doesn't clear it, then that's obviously not clear. If it's at perhaps this point, if you were to push down, it would clear your middle finger because it's far enough back and your middle finger's far enough front. If it's getting to that point of the swing, that's when you actually want to push down on it slightly with your index finger. And this doesn't require much force at all. It looks like I'm exerting a lot of force now because the pen is at a standstill. There's no momentum to keep it going. But when you do this and you just kind of what I'll call swap fingers, as in here the middle finger's touching the pen and here it's not, but the index finger is. When it gets past to, I would say, maybe this angle, you want to kind of close your index finger down a little bit on your ring finger. What that's going to do is it'll take the momentum as it is here, and when you clamp down on it like this, it'll force the pen to go up. You see how that works? And if you didn't stop it here like I did, again, for presentation purposes, the pen will actually continue on, and then you'll be able to catch it and hold it between your index and your middle finger and be able to catch the trick or catch the sonic. So there are a few steps to this. I'm just going to go over it again just to be thorough. You want to hold it more or less like this, do the swing, but when it gets to just about perpendicular, move your middle finger forward and your index finger back. Let it swing a little bit more. When it gets to the point where it's past this part anyway, is past your middle finger, clamp down slightly using your index finger, or if you want to, you can just kind of turn your hand like this a little bit. Either way, you just want to convert essentially the momentum that's going this way into momentum that's going more so up. So if you were to just do that swing, the pen would do that. It would keep going this way. You want the pen's momentum to convert from essentially horizontal to more so vertical and more circular. So when it's here, just clears your middle finger, push down on your index finger, or again, you can kind of turn your hand up just ever so slightly, and that will help convert the momentum over to more so vertical momentum that can help you swing around and then catch the trick like that. Now, I personally just use my index finger to guide it along. If you watch how I did it in real time, I don't even really push back I don't really push down on my index finger like this to make the pen go up and around. That's something that is happening behind the scenes, but again, in a very, very subtle motion that I'm just kind of, again, exaggerating for the purposes of you guys understanding what is going on when you're doing the trick. So again, you're going to like do that swing and then swap your index finger and your middle finger with regards to which finger is touching the pen. And then you can push down a little bit on your index finger, and then it will eventually go like this. When it's here, move your middle finger back a little bit to hold the pen between the 1-2 finger slot, and then the rest of the momentum should carry the pen just like that. So again, that's how it's done. And once you guys get really smooth at it and you kind of understand the force associated with it, and you understand how it's done better, you barely have to move your index finger at all. You can see that, my middle finger is barely bent, and you can see that my ring finger and my index finger are barely even like clamping down on the pen. They're there to guide the pen into its final place, which is the 1-2 finger slot in this case. So that's how you do the trick when it's done palm up or palm side, however you want to describe the way your hand is turned. But once you guys get the hang of doing it palm up, doing it palm side or palm down rather is actually very similar, of course, and it's also much easier in my opinion. Reason being is that, remember how I mentioned when you do the Sonic palm up, palm side, whatever, you're taking momentum that's horizontal, and you have to kind of push the pen a little bit to make it go more vertical and more rotational, so that you do this and then you're able to catch it just like that. However, when you're doing the Sonic palm down, all of the momentum is horizontal, so it's very easy to push the pen and to get it to where you want to go. Now, I'm just kind of holding the pen like this. I'm not even holding it like this, just palm down. You can do it like this, of course. Wow, too much momentum. You can, of course, do that, but most of the time when you're doing the Sonic palm down, you're going to want to just have the pen lightly grasped between your fingers. Now, again, I'm doing it from the 2-3 finger slot into the 1-2 finger slot. That was a really bad example of a Sonic. That's better. And you're just going to kind of hold it very gently there. And that same motion of pushing when you do the swing part, as I called it, when you're pushing your middle finger, in this case, kind of forward, and by forward, I mean closer to the back of your hand, because that makes sense. When you're doing that and you're pushing the pen forward by extending your ring finger out, you do the same thing when you're here. Granted, this is really hard to do because the camera's pointing down this way and my hand naturally kind of points that way. Anyway, so the pen looks like this from the top, and your ring finger is actually going to be slightly lower than your middle finger when you start off. Reason is because you kind of want to start the pen. Let's see if I can get a decent angle. Okay, so there it is. So see how my ring finger is lower than my middle finger here? That is because instead of taking your ring finger and pushing it that way, you're going to take your ring finger and push it up. When you push the pen up, and if you don't hit the table like I do all the time, if you do that, the pen's going to go like that. It's going to turn about a quarter of a revolution just by lifting your ring finger up. And again, if you give it a little bit of momentum, you can start with the pen not perfectly perpendicular with your hands. You can have it slightly back, kind of like that, or have this part of the pen resting on your thumb flap here. And then when you lift your ring finger up, that will cause the pen to turn about a quarter of a revolution. And from here, this is kind of what it looks like from the back of your hand when you're doing the normal Sonic, but again, you're just doing it palm down. The pen is going to continue to have momentum going this way, and you just need to kind of close in slightly with your index finger and your ring finger to make sure that the pen goes this way, still between your fingers instead of going like this somehow. And you can help this by, lowering your middle finger even more. Not necessary, but it's helpful when you're learning to lower it more. Or raise your index finger more. any better separation between your middle finger and your index finger in terms of height difference here will help. So you do this, and then the pen's gonna want to swing like this, and then it just falls into that finger slot and does that. Again, I think this is personally much, much easier than doing it palm up. So if you want to learn it palm down first, I guess it's okay. But just keep in mind that there's a lot more force needed to do the sonic palm up rather than palm side, or palm down rather. And again, that's because all the momentum when you do the sonic this way needs to be converted from horizontal to more so vertical and rotational, rather than when it's like this, it's already horizontal, already rotational. So it's a very smooth and fluid motion. I hope this helped you guys out. If you haven't already, please feel free to rate, comment, and subscribe for more content in the future, and I'll see you guys in the next video.